Debt is like fire. You use it well, cooks your food, heats your house. Very great. If you use it incorrectly, burns everything to the ground. So how you use it, how you use this tool called debt will dictate your outcomes, because you can over leverage in chess too, where your cart goes in front of the horse and now you can't make payments and the whole thing spirals downwards. But once you have resources where you're able to pay off the debt anytime you want, but you don't want to, that's where you're in my opinion, a good spot, because you're able to use that appropriately.
Today we have Freddie Rappina, and he is a chartered financial consultant and accredited investment fiduciary and the founder of Opta Financial. He's a former police officer who's turned wealth advisor. Freddie's the author of Playing the Wealth Game, a book that challenges traditional thinking and champions strategic debt and unconventional wealth building tools. He's based in Wesley Chapel, Florida, brings a tactical and real-world insight into financial planning and passive income strategies, as well as building generational wealth. Freddie, thank you so much for being with us, and make yourself at home.
Thanks, Deana. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell me, this has got to be the most interesting story. How did you go from being law enforcement into wealth management and financial strategy?
Yeah, I just wanted to get into it. I was a rookie police officer, and I started getting around wealthy people, and not through the police department, but just in general. And I started learning different things. And then I went back to get all my certifications over my 12th year on the police force, and I started my own firm. Wanted it to be nice and small, but it expanded very rapidly. So I had two careers for about 7 years. My financial office was right next to my police station. I was literally running back and forth across the street. It was a lot, and especially with DC traffic and all that. So it was good. But yeah, I started noticing the differences in finances, how to build wealth, looking at it from an evidence-based mindset as well. Okay, if this is what everybody's telling the general public to do, why isn't it working? And just taking it from there.
So being in the DC area, I'm sure that you probably saw a whole bunch of money, is that what kind of triggered you into wanting to get into wealth, or was it something that you took an interest in earlier in your life?
Yeah, I took an interest earlier, but once I started being around people who understood how to build wealth and were doing it, and understanding that their mindsets were very different from the middle class families that I grew up with, including my own parents, I just started to say, okay, what's going on here? Why are these two totally different strategies out there? And why is only one being presented to most people, and presented in a way that would lead you to believe that it's the strategies that the wealthy use? And when I saw that wasn't the case, and I saw how the wealthy were able to practice good tax avoidance and build significant wealth and significant income quickly, I was like, okay, this is not what the books are saying. This is not what all the certifications, so I likened it to a checkers and chess concept, and that seems to have resonated with people.
So what separates you from most traditional financial advisors?
A lot of traditional financial advisors will focus on a checkers mindset, saving money for 30 years, compound interest, paying off everything, just letting the market try to build the wealth for you. And it's not the same as a chess mindset. The chess mindset uses a lot of leverage concepts, a lot of business acquisition, real estate, of course, and just understanding that We understand it instinctively. Like we get it, right? One of my jokes here, I say in a lot of seminars here in Tampa, is I say, you go to the boat show here in Tampa, walk up to somebody with a $25 million yacht, ask them how they got it. They're not going to respond with, I fully funded my 401k. That's not going to be the answer. Or I bought a well-diversified mutual fund from some financial firm and sat on it for 25, 30 years. And now I'm able to afford this $25 million yacht. These aren't going to be the answers, but it's what is, in my opinion, forced that checkers mindset, checkers actions forced on the middle class. And it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. People are having a hard time retiring just on these qualified accounts. And people still believe that that's the only option for them. And it's not.
Yeah, from what I remember, from what I've studied, originally when our parents started, and probably our parents' parents, so mostly boomers, most of their companies had pensions. And then with the pensions began the 401k, which was supposed to supplement the pensions along with Social Security. Then the businesses figured out that they could keep their money by not funding a pension, and really started forcing us or giving us the only option that pensions were no longer being offered as a benefit. The 401k was the only option. And so now we've gone from a pension, 401k, and Social Security to only being 401k and Social Security. So we've really lost, middle class wise, we've really lost the essential piece of how we're supposed to take care of each other. So now a lot of us in our age are thinking the only option we have is, unfortunately, our parents dying.
Yeah, I don't want people to think that a 401k is bad, because it's not. It is a great tool, but the expectation of what it can do, I believe, is off. So the tool isn't bad. The expectation of the tool, I feel, is just oversold. It's especially the idea of compound interest. It's oversold, especially to the middle class. Humans just don't live long enough for compound interest to do what people would like it to do. It just the credit card company's in business, right? But it's sitting around waiting for the financial grass to grow for 30 years or even longer. And I call it the golden wheelchair plan, because by the time that growth happens, you may be too old or to really enjoy it, or it may not even be here at all. So this idea that we need to keep saving and not enjoying our life now, and not implementing strategies that are going to allow you to enjoy your life now as well as in the future, is something that I really want to bring to people and have them understand. Like, no, there's this other game called chess that you can really start implementing some strategies and build some significant wealth. You don't have to just do what everybody tells you to do, because they're not doing that. That's the frustrating part. It's almost like this paternalistic element to the financial world, where the financial institutions are forcing checkers down your throat, but then they turn around with the money and they play chess. I don't need to tell you, a realtor, that these big conglomerate companies own a significant amount of real estate, but their agents, salespeople, whatever you want to call them, are not promoting enough, in my opinion, to the consumer to also invest in real estate, at least as an option, right? So it's really about understanding the differences between the two games. You look at all of them. You look at insurance companies, especially life insurance companies. We had a global pandemic, and life insurance companies didn't even skip a beat. In fact, a lot of them had up years. Like, how do you have good years during a global pandemic if you're a life insurance company? What else do they invest in? So they're playing chess. So it's understanding those different strategies.
So what's the difference between somebody playing checkers with their money versus somebody playing chess?
I would say the biggest difference is their attitude towards debt. If you're a checkers player, you are in the mindset to be out of debt, have no debt, pay off everything, including your house and everything else. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing if you want to be a good checkers player. That's what you would want to do to be a good checkers player. To be a good chess player, it's you want to be in as much debt as possible out over leveraging. Over leveraging is still bad. You can still mess up chess. I don't want people to think that chess is you can't lose. No, that's not the case. But but you can, if you're playing chess, you're using debt correctly to purchase cash flowing assets such as real estate, such as businesses, things that are going to cash flow, using the money you save, your investments as basically leverage, as collateral. That like you have customers, you're plopping down statements in front of lenders, and that shows the lender that they are a good bet to be able to achieve that loan to purchase the real estate. It's very similar. You have to have the assets to be able to convince the lender to give you the loan to buy the piece of real estate that's going to cash flow, and you pay the lender back with the cash flow, and you stick some of the money in your pocket and actually enjoy life now, not 30 years from now.
So a lot of times when I have first time home buyers, we just had a couple bought their very first house. And when we walk into this home, this is their very first home. And we talk to them about, okay, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage home, what we call a 322. As soon as that we walk in, we talk about, okay, can you afford this now? Then what does it take to be able to eat up the interest so you're paying less interest? So we talk about just making a one principal payment per year so you can eat up the interest from the backside, because as we know, any mortgage is front loaded with interest. So we want to try to eat up the principal from the back end so you're not paying as much interest in it. But then when they outgrow the home and they go to look for the next step home, to use that home as a rental so they can grow their income, because that home, all you have to do is have a lease. The bank will then see it as it's no longer a debt. It's no longer part of your DTI, your debt to income. It's now seen as it pays for itself. And you can then go and purchase the bigger home with the income that you have, especially if you're making some on that first home that you buy. Is that the kind of thing that people should be thinking of?
It's an option. And using an extra principal payment to pay down the home faster, in my opinion, is a good checker strategy. But at the same time, the equity in the home is earning zero. So you paying what you have to on that first mortgage and saving that extra payment into an account that eventually can become, let's say, a down payment on a rental property, or you're able to beat the interest rate, right? So you're, instead of putting into the house, which is earning zero, you're able to put it into market-based assets that are going to at least appreciate and hopefully over time. So it's not just sitting in the house. Also, it depends on how long this mortgage is and how the interest rates, and there's other factors, right? But using equity in a home to leverage to purchase additional cash flowing investments, such as another piece of real estate that's going to cover hopefully the mortgage payment over the course of a few properties. I like those strategies as well. So it depends on the individual too. There's no one size fits all to this, but having people understand the different options and who are they. Because again, if you're a checkers player, I want you to play checkers. I am not against checkers. I'm just saying it is checkers. And if you're playing checkers, you shouldn't expect the results of what a chess player can achieve, because they're just using leverage differently.
So would another option be to, because most of the time the reason that we tell folks that is because you end up gaining equity. Again, that's making nothing. You end up gaining equity a little bit faster. So you take a 30-year mortgage and turn it into a 24-year mortgage just by making one extra payment. Principal payment, by the way. So then you can take the equity in that home, maybe get a HELOC or something along those lines, and then turn that into the next property. Or, as you're saying, take that equity payment and put it into a CD where it actually will grow some, or in a money market where it'll grow some. That way they could take that and then use that as the down payment for their next property. Is that where I'm hearing you?
Likely not a CD or a money market. It would, because you want it to be able to keep up with inflation and appreciate a little bit faster. So yeah, those strategies but the goal is to achieve more real estate. So once you have that mindset, like which option is a matter of taste and opinion and preference. It's the idea that, okay, sitting on this home for 30 years, thinking that's going to be my ticket to retirement, in my opinion, is not a great strategy at all. Because, especially now, because we have this very strange dynamic where we want affordable housing, but we also want the value of that home to go up. Those two things cannot coexist. They're on the same line in a chart. The value of it going up means the cost increases. So your house going up in value is not a good thing for the next person that's going to buy at that price, right? So we just put, in my opinion, too much emphasis on the primary residence to be able to achieve these goals. Now, that doesn't mean don't purchase real estate. I love purchasing real estate, but looking at it as, okay, we're going to purchase additional properties to cover the mortgage, cover the mortgage payment, create more cash flow. Because once you feel like once you have enough investment properties that are covering that mortgage, you're there. You don't have to worry about the interest rate as much. You don't have to worry about the amortization table as much, because somebody else is paying it. Your rental income is paying down your primary residence. Again, there's a lot of different strategies, but sticking a ton of money into the home that earns zero is, I don't know about that one, but we're definitely purchasing more real estate.
We're always trying to look at how do we give our clients the best information possible. And a lot of people are risk averse. So they have a different way of looking at it. Again, that's why there are so many people that are wired for short-term thinking when it comes to wealth. How many people are playing the lottery?
Yeah.
What is it? Hope is not a strategy. But how do we get people to think outside of this short-term thinking when it comes to wealth?
Yeah, the idea that appreciation is great, right? So that property is going to appreciate hopefully over time. You're going to gain equity. Using a home equity line of credit could be a very good strategy, especially if you're going to continuously purchase properties with that line of credit. Like, you buy the property with the line of credit, you pay the line off, you buy another property, pay the line off, buy another, that. And as you continue to purchase more properties, the time that it takes to pay off the line of credit should decrease over time. So that can be a great strategy, and it doesn't take 30 years to do that. So it's just having people in the mindset that it is okay to build wealth now, not just wait, not just sitting on. It's just having people in the mindset you can build wealth. And the same strategies that are available to the ultra rich are available to everybody, right? So, but understanding how to use leverage properly. Debt is like fire. You use it well, cooks your food, heats your house. Very great. If you use it incorrectly, burns everything to the ground. So how you use it, how you use this tool called debt will dictate your outcomes, because you can over leverage in chess too, where your cart goes in front of the horse, and now you can't make payments and the whole thing spirals downwards. But once you have resources where you're able to pay off the debt anytime you want, but you don't want to, that's where you're in my opinion, a good spot, because you're able to use that appropriately and have all the tax benefits of owning real estate, especially rental properties.
So is that how that homeowners and investors can use strategic debt as your wealth building tool, is by using a HELOC or your mortgage so you can have renters come in? Is that how homeowners should start thinking about strategic debt as your wealth building tool?
The HELOC is just one of ways, right? But once they start realizing that the accounts themselves, the money that they're saving, once they have the mindset of this is not going to lead me to the promised land, and that's coming from the guy who makes money helping people invest their money in the market, right? But once they understand that this is going to be what I'm able to put down in front of a lender to be able to get a loan, to get from whatever lender, bank, doesn't matter, and using that loan to purchase a cash flowing asset, not going on vacation with the loan. You're buying a cash flowing asset like a piece of real estate that's going to cash flow. That cash flow has to service the debt, has to be enough to pay the principal and interest on the loan that you're taking from the lender, and be able to put some money in your pocket now so you can pay for travel baseball and travel cheerleading like I do, or whatever your passions are. But saving money first is the first step.
That was what I was wondering. Plus, on top of that, not only can it pay for itself, but you also have to think about if there's required repairs on, because now you're a rental owner, or if it's empty. We have one of our clients that unfortunately their tenant flooded out their house, and it took them 2 years to rebuild the house, to get everything out.
I'm sorry, just having good property managers and having good insurances, doing everything yourself is probably a very poor strategy. And in my opinion, having good property managers is like a number one priority, because when you have a bad one, it's really rough, especially if it's not like the property's not in your area, which a lot of rental real estate sometimes isn't. It's not in the area where you live. So but once you start doing it, you start understanding, start getting better at it. You make small mistakes on small deals, so you don't make the same mistake on a larger deal later on down the road.
We've had several of our clients that have really gotten interested in trailer parks, owning those, because you're owning just the land, especially if you own just the land. And people bring their own mobile home or their trailer home and park it there. So all they're paying is lot rent. And all you have to do is just service land. There really isn't anything else you own except for dirt. So with that, there's no increase in taxes because of the simple fact that you're owning raw land. It has been updated where it may have water or sewer on it, or even water and septic. But beyond that, it actually doesn't have a building on it that the county can tax. So that one, or we also hear about laundromats. Those would be another tax benefit that people can look into.
Yeah, different businesses, absentee or semi-absentee businesses are definitely on the table. I know this is more of a real estate podcast, so I was focusing more on that. But definitely real businesses can also be a big part of that, especially when you're using the cash flow from the business to purchase more real estate. So as soon as you get this kind of flywheel going of money goes, the good tax benefits are in real estate. So as long as the money's flowing through real estate at some point during that flywheel, generally have better outcomes. But the problem is, in my opinion right now, that we don't have enough wealth advisors talking about real estate. So I feel like I'm screaming from a rooftop but what financial advisors just like talking about market-based assets all the time. And I love market-based assets, but market-based assets are not going to be able to just bring you there unless you pick the right penny stock or whatever that blows up into the next Amazon. There's always an outlier, right? But generally speaking, in my opinion, it's not going to be able to increase the wealth but it's going to be the foundation to be able to achieve loans, to be able to achieve the debt that you need to purchase the cash flowing assets. And that is a good trust strategy, in my opinion. But because you don't over leverage with the HELOC and all. The HELOC idea is still good, especially if you're buying like small single family homes. Who wants to go through underwriting every time you want to buy a $150,000, $200,000 house? Yeah, nobody, right? So having the HELOC where you can purchase that small property cash, right? Because cash transaction, even though you owe debt, and for the real estate transaction, so you might be able to get a little lower price on the property because you're paying cash, right? Don't have the closing costs and all that other stuff, and then paying off the line of credit as fast as possible to purchase another piece of real estate. That can work too. But the gimmicks and the games and the charlatans running around your city saying you can invest in real estate with no money and no credit and what are we talking about here? What planet are we?
I get phone calls like that. One, just to remind our audience, a HELOC is a home equity line of credit. It's basically a secondary line of credit on the home that you have, on the equity that you already have in your home. So that's what we keep saying HELOC about. But yes. I get phone calls every single year when these guys roll through our town where they've gotten people to come and sit for a free seminar. But once they sit for the free seminar, it's $25,000. And all they have to do is to learn how to do this. And there are people that this is their entire life savings. And they pay it to somebody else. And they'll call many of us and go, what wholesale buyers do you have that would like to pick up this property that I have? And I spend hours on the phone with these folks because I feel horrible for them because somebody was on a TV channel that they recognized their name, or they bought a book about some fatherly figures that they followed, the affluent fatherly fellow and the not so affluent fatherly fellow. It's all of these different books give you just enough information to be dangerous. And the people that they see on their TV every single day aren't necessarily looking out for their best interest. They're looking out for themselves. So it's hard when I have to answer those questions about people who are like, I would like to sell to your wholesale people. Yeah, I have investors. You may have just gotten yourself stuck with a property.
Right. So having the good education, right? So having a full understanding on what you're actually doing, but investing in real estate is investing in real estate. It's not investing in a person who's investing in real estate. That is, you're investing in a person. If your name or your company's name is not on the deed, that could be a problem. Just understanding how to really separate and understand, are you even ready? That's another. I tell people that you're not ready. You're not there yet. You need to save more. We need more money. We need to save more money. You can't, it's not, real estate's not a life hack. It's an amplifier of wealth, in my opinion. You have the resources to be able to be attractive to lenders, to be able to achieve loans to purchase that asset, right? And those are people we love working with, people that are tired of their financial advisors saying, oh, don't invest in real estate, it's too risky, or, oh, the one thing I can't drives me crazy is the market average is this, right? This percentage, and real estate only averages this, right? Oh my goodness. Let's just say the market, let's just say it's 10%. That's not a real number, but let's just pretend. But the number they always use for real estate is 4. Right. But what they don't educate people on is what the 4% is of versus the other number. If I have an account, let's say I have $1 million account, right? And it's averaging 10%, it's 100 grand, right? That's great. Now let's say I took $200,000 out of that account and I borrowed $800,000 from a lender and bought a $1 million rental property, right? Which is cash flowing, right? And giving me good depreciation and all the good stuff. And that's averaging 4%. It's averaging 4% of $1 million. It's averaging, I'm getting return on the $800,000 that I borrowed from a lender. So yeah, those are not the same at all. So I'm not saying, but there's always like this dynamic of one or the other. You can't do both. No, you sure can do both. You can take the $200,000. And that's where I'm a little bit different than a lot of financial advisors, where I'm like, if it's good for the client, I want them to take the $200,000 out of the account that I'm managing and purchase that $1 million rental property in this hypothetical, because it's going to build their wealth. Oh, and I'm a fiduciary. I act in the best interests of the client. So it's just a different way of looking at it.
We talk to our clients every single day and tell them, all right, on average. So whenever we do a comparable market analysis on any home that they're looking at purchasing, we look at how much has it grown over the last year. And if it's in a neighborhood, that's easier to do than if they're looking at a raw piece of land or something along those lines. We could gather that information. I said, but the generalized rule of thumb is that most real estate will grow between 3 and 7% per year. But at the 10-year mark, your home should have doubled in price. So when you look at that math doesn't math, because you are going to have wild swings sometimes where a neighborhood is going to appreciate. I've been in my home for 5 years. My home has doubled in price, nearly. I am right at it after 5 years. That's not a normal. When we saw, and of course, everybody's scared of the 2008 crash. But when everybody saw the correction from the 2008 crash in 2010, 11, and 12, they're like, oh, that's when you're talking about affordable housing all over again. Is now that the market has corrected in 20, 21, 22, we actually had an overcorrection that in the Charlotte region, we were only about $30,000 overpriced. We're starting to see that come back off now that we're in 24, 25, 26. We've seen that $30,000 overprice swing back down. So we're right where we're supposed to be. When you look at the longevity chart that's out there, you actually can see that overall. And Charlotte is an anomaly. We're usually the last ones into a crisis and the first ones out. We're a bubble. Overall, you start paying attention to those things. When people are looking, what are some practical steps that families should take a hold now to build long-term wealth?
Decide decide whether you're going to be a checkers player or a chess player. That's number one. It's the mindset. Because once you have the mindset, you can start implementing strategies. You can start choosing what you want to do. That's, in my opinion, that's number one. Second thing is to understand if we're talking about real estate, what kind of real estate, what is your risk tolerance, even as far as real estate. And a good risk tolerance metric is cap rate, right? If you're going to be in your backyard, though, it's probably going to be a lower cap rate than if you start investing in a more up and coming area of the country. So you have to look at that. But understanding that your accounts, your brokerage accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, whatever you have, once you really have the mindset of, okay, I need to do something with this as my tool to be able to achieve loans, to buy real estate, to buy businesses, to buy things that are in a cash flow, to create not only wealth in the future, not only just capital appreciation, but income now. Income is what makes you wealthy, in my opinion, not just numbers on paper, especially if you can't touch the numbers for several years or decades. I think that's the most important thing, is that mindset. And if you're a checkers player, work with a checkers financial advisor. If that's your game, work with somebody who's good at that game. But if you're a chess player, find a chess wealth advisor, because that person is not only going to be more in tune with the strategies, they're also doing it themselves, right? And probably able to steer a little bit better and not try to talk people out of their own, like out of the strategies that are going to help them achieve a better chess game.
What financial shifts do you see coming? And I know none of us have a crystal ball. Because if we did, we'd all be sitting on a beach or a mountain somewhere. But what financial shifts do you see coming that homeowners and investors, what should they prepare for?
Ooh, what stage of life are they in?
All right, so let's do all three. Let's do first time, or just starting out, 20-something, mid of the road, probably 50s, and then getting ready to retire, probably 60s, 70s.
Okay, my 20s one is going to be strange. This is not a blanket statement. This is not advice for everyone or anything like that. It's just the idea of that first home purchase. It's different now than it was generations ago, or even one generation ago. It may be better to rent. You have the money, instead of going into a massive loan where you want to live, it may be better to purchase cash flowing assets in another part of the world, or even part of your city. So you're buying real estate, you're still buying real estate, but you're buying rental property while you are renting. Buying, and possibly buying several of them, to be able to cover your rent. So now you're paying the lowest amount you can with the rent, right? That's your ceiling of payment every single month, not the floor like a mortgage. Mortgage is a floor, because HVAC and everything else will increase the cost every single month. And continuing that strategy. So not until you have enough cash flowing assets to then go possibly buy that dream home or whatever you want, but you're also maybe even older now, maybe you have a family or whatever. So just having the idea that it doesn't have to be right now for that big loan, maybe smaller loans, maybe with the idea of renting, covering your rent with other rent. In middle age,
we actually had one client who did that. He bought a duplex, so he had one side, and the other side actually paid the entirety of the mortgage. So that's one thing to think about. Okay, so
called house hacking.
Yeah. So middle age.
Yeah, middle age is going to be more. The accounts really start matter a lot. Like, you have to really start funneling money into these accounts to be able to, either, if you're going to be a checkers player, to be able to compound later on down the road. You have to start early for that. You have to be diligent and disciplined to really funnel money into those accounts, and not wait, because the waiting really hurts the math. And if you're nearing retirement, looking at legacy. Is legacy important to you? And if it's not, right, it's important to me, though. Making sure that there's going to be something going down to the next generation with a step up in basis, having good estate documents, having a trust, preferably, in my opinion. It also, again, understanding where's the income going to come from. And if you're doing traditional retirement, where's the income coming from? How much money do you have to have in these accounts to create that kind of income? Because if you just use the 4% rule, which is waning in popularity right now, which it should, in my opinion, then $1 million in a 401k will have $40,000 a year of income. Where are you retiring on $40,000 a year? And that's with $1 million in the account, right? So if you don't have $1 million in the account and you're using the 4% rule, that's really not going to work. And you're risking the well being run dry over a long period of time. The superannuation is the technical term for it. So yeah, just understanding where you are, where's the income come from, and are you happy where you are? Are you happy? If you're happy playing checkers, then just continue to play checkers. If that's not having a lot of wealth is not your aspiration, play checkers well. But if you are looking to build significant wealth, both for while you're on this earth and the next generation, then you should at least understand the different chess strategies that are available to you.
So I think that asking, are you happy, is just overall. We talk about mental health right now. That's one of the key things. Is growing up, we never really talked about it. But I think that's huge in any aspect that you look at, is when you're preparing for this, there may be some other steps, but are you happy with that step? And if that isn't a step you're happy with, is course correct.
Yeah, and don't think it's too late either.
Unless you stop breathing.
I'm in my 40s and I'm set and I can't change. No, you can change it up, or 50s, or it's about what you want out of your financial life. And I never wanted to say right and wrong, and I didn't like that a lot of other people in the wealth space were saying this is the best way, that's the best way. It's who are you? So what's your personality makeup? And so that's why I didn't say right or wrong. I said checkers and chess. If you're going to play checkers, I want you to be the hell out of debt, all of it, pay it all off, and save a lot of money and live and have a good nest egg, and be able to draw down the income. But if you're a chess player, then let's figure out what that strategies are going to be most appropriate for you. Will achieve your wealth.
I got into real estate almost 20 years ago, and this was before Donald Trump became our president. But I told people all the time that I said, you became a real estate agent, and everybody on the world now thinks you're Donald Trump and thinks you have the pockets of Donald Trump. So you'll have everybody as a real estate agent. We are one of the most heavily solicited two industries there are. So we have everybody trying to sell us the next greatest thing. And a lot of us have shiny object syndrome. But I said, as you become a real estate agent, they think you're Donald Trump, and you'll do $39.95 until you're in debt up to your eyeballs. So you have to be able to stop and say, no, I don't need this. Just because it's a shiny object doesn't mean it's going to be the best thing for me. So I think what you're saying and what I've heard over this last 30 minutes has been what's best for you and where you're at. There is no such thing as this is the best plan, because it may not be the best plan for you or your family.
That's correct. And what I find most amazing with a lot of the real estate agents that I know is that a lot of them just don't own enough real estate, in my opinion. They may own their primary residence, but not as much in the rental space, right? It's even getting over that hump, the idea is difficult, sometimes difficult even for people that do it every day or talking about it every day. But once you get over it and you start understanding how to use cash flowing real estate to your advantage, or businesses, it's hard to go back. I could never be a checkers player again. I was, but I could never be a checkers player again. But understanding who you are, that's important to me. But it may not be important to other people.
It's kind of like the red pill and blue pill. Once you take it, you can't ever go back.
But screaming, what's bothered me with my observation over the past 20 years is the idea of screaming at the moon, why are the rich keep getting richer? Like, you're not playing the same game. but that game is available to you if you're in a good position to play it. But they're not playing checkers. They're not. The companies are not playing checkers. The governments are not playing checkers. So everybody should be out of debt. Why do rich people have debt? Why do companies have debt? Why do municipalities have debt? So the debt that companies and municipalities have, we just changed the word and we call it bonds. But it's debt. Yeah, just again, is really this force-fed checkers of, oh, that's too risky for you. Leave chess to the adults, right? And you just continue to give us your money, and 30 years from now, we'll give you to you back with interest or whatever. It's just, in my opinion, that's not the only way.
Freddie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It means the world to me, because time is the one asset that you don't ever get back. So I do take it extremely seriously when someone decides to invest in our clients' knowledge. I want to say thank you so much. We have all of your socials, everything about you, and where people can find your book as well. But I wanted to say again, thank you so much for your time, and I greatly appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends, because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.